Good morning. Hope everyone's doing good this morning. We're back in the kitchen here at Mama Ree's kitchen at home. So this morning we're going to make some cornbread. We're going to actually do two in one. I'm going to make the cornbread first, and while it's cooking, we're going to do a pork pot roast because the cornbread's really good with the pork pot roast. So we're going to show you how to do this. Now I make my cornbread for my dressing a little different than I make the cornbread that we eat. So this is what we're going to do right here. I've got white lily cornmeal. As I've told you before, nothing else in my kitchen. So what I'm going to do, I've got a cup of meal. Now there again, how many are you going to cook for? But I'm going to have 1 cup of meal, and I may need a little more. I'm going to do about 1.5 cups. Okay? And to that, I'm going to add some buttermilk. Now I'm not measuring, because it's ever how you like it, okay? So I'm just going to pour it until I get what I want right now. We're going to try that. To that, I'm going to add 2 eggs, okay? And to that, I'm going to add some mayonnaise, about a spoonful, something like that. If you're making more, put more, okay? So we're just going to stir it up real good. Now you remember when I made my dressing, I used water. About half buttermilk and half water. But here I'm just going to use buttermilk. Get it to it's still a little too thick, so we're going to add just a little more buttermilk.
Do you want it where it'll pour out?
Huh?
Do you want it where it'll pour out of the bowl?
Yeah, I don't want it too thin, but I don't want it too thick either. It's just, like I said, it's hard sometimes for me because I just do it till it looks right. I want it just a little thinner than that. So we'll add a little more buttermilk. And you know, it doesn't really matter if you get it too thin, put your little more meal in it. It's not a complicated dish. Okay? That's about the way I like it. Okay? I hope that's going to be enough. Now come over here to the stove. I've got my skillet, if you want to get right here. I've got my skillet on, and I heat my grease. I poured, you see about what I got in there. I like for it to run up around my cornbread, and that makes it a real crispy outside. Okay. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to check it, see if it's about right. Just about right. But you see how it's doing? That's the way I want my cornbread mix to look when I put it in, okay? So I'm just going to go ahead and pour it in. Don't you see how the grease comes up to the side? That's the way I like to cook it. Okay. Excuse my arm. I'm just going to push it around. Still wasn't quite as hot as I like it, but you see how my grease comes up and around. That's the way I like it because it guarantees you a crisp outside. Now I've got my oven heated to, I think it's 475. Just going to set it in there and let it bake while we do our pot roast. Okay.
About how long for the cornbread?
Oh, I don't know. Let's see. It's about 5 after 11, so we'll check it when it comes out. All right, come on over here, Delane. Today, I'm going to make a pot roast like I told you before. I use a Boston butt. This is a pork. I use a Boston butt. I think this one weighed about close to 7 pounds, and it cost about $20. But if you're a small family, you can get a good many meals out of this. But I've already taken the fat out of this. I'm waiting, and I've got a piece left here that I want to show you how we do it. Where's my other fork? When it comes out of the oven, this has done got a little cold. I like to do it when it's hot. But you see all this fat in here? I like to pull that fat out, and it'll pull out a lot better whenever it's real good and hot. And then just take your meat. After you separate it, get the fat out. I've done got all this much fat out this morning of my other.
Why don't you just use your fingers?
I don't like it on my hands, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I just don't. I'm funny about my hands. I like them clean. Okay, so we just take that fat out. I think I've already got the pieces that had the most fat in them. You can see I'm not getting much fat at all. So we just put it in here. I just wanted you to see how it does.
It smells really good.
It does. We want to kind of cut the pieces in two, because you see the string right here, it'll be real stringy if you don't. See the grain going down? And whenever you cut meat, you want to cut against the grain. You don't want to cut it this way, because you're cutting with the grain, and it'll be real stringy. So that piece is ready to go in. Now let's see what we got on here. This piece hadn't had a lot of fat on it, but that's good. And I did buy a boneless roast. It doesn't really matter. You either kind you want. See how tender?
It sure is tender. That's what I was wondering. It sure
And I
is
was going to
tender.
tell you, I took the whole Boston butt, took it out of the pack, washed it real good, put it in my crock pot last night. So I cooked it all night long. I put it on about 10 last night and took it out about 7 this morning. And I cooked it on low all night. Don't cook it on high if you're going to cook it all night. But you see how tender it is. How it just falling apart. And how the fat just pulls off of it. And you may like the fat on it. I don't. So that's why.
Now, do you save the fat for something else, or do you?
No.
Okay.
I don't. But you see what a pot of meat we have here? Now that is a pot of meat.
That's a lot.
All right, let me set this aside. But I hope you see how we cook it, tear it apart, and pull the fat off of it. Now, what I'm going to do now, the only thing different that I do between a beef roast and a pork roast is my gravy. In the beef roast, I will use a southeastern brown gravy mix or whatever. But in the pork, I make my own gravy. It just makes a different taste altogether. And that's what I was talking about, the cornbread. The gravy on that cornbread is unbelievable. It's so good. All right, now I'm cutting my own. You see, I'm going to make a lot of gravy, so I've got a little more oil than I normally would, but I'm making a lot of gravy. So we're going to turn that on and let it get hot. All right, I've cooked some, let me show you these. This little baby Dutch yellow potato, that's what I've got here. They've got a sweetness to them. They're really, really good, and you can just empty them out of the bag, wash them, and put them on the boil.
Where do you get them?
I got these at Piggly Wiggly here in Childersburg.
Okay.
And then I bought the little baby carrots, just like, you know, the little sweet baby carrots. And I put them in a boiler, and I boiled them. You need to see that?
Okay.
Okay. So I went ahead and boiled them and drained them, so they're ready to eat, basically. I'm just going to put them in here with my roast.
Okay, so I've always thought you put it all in the crock pot together.
Well, a lot of people do. I don't, because I like my potatoes and carrots I like them whole, like you see them here in the pot. And I've had the problem, maybe it's just me, that if I cook them all together, they kind of turn to mush. So I just rather cook mine separate. And my gravy, the taste of the roast and everything will go through it in the gravy. Now I saved just a few of my drippings, not much, but a little bit. And I'm just going to pour them over my potatoes, and
Now that come out of the...
that came out of the crock pot.
Okay.
Okay, just to give it a little extra moisture. Now there again, I'm not going to measure my gravy because I don't know how much I'm going to need. But I'm going to start with a cup Because like I said, I'm gonna need quite a bit of gravy to put over this much roast. So I'm actually gonna start with a cup. I don't know if I'll add any more or not. Okay. We're gonna see if it's getting hot enough. We can do that by just putting a little. See, it's still not quite hot enough yet. And like I said, I've got a good bit of oil in here because I'm going to make a lot of gravy.
So you want it bubbling like the cornbread did when you drop it in?
Yeah. It's beginning to get a little hot. I should have had my skillet on hot. I try to make them short because I know everybody, they're like me, they're busy. And they haven't got time to sit around for 30, 40 minutes and watch you make everything. So I kind of like to speed it up. Okay? I probably got too much oil. I'm just going to go ahead and put my flour. Like I said, I start with a cup. I'm going to add my salt and pepper. And it'll take a good bit because we're going to be salting all of that I've got in my pot. Okay. Oh, excuse me. That pepper got to me. I'm going to add about another half a cup of flour. Just stir it, get you something like this that you can kind of just pick it up on the bottom because in a few minutes it's going to start browning. Ooh, that pepper's tickling my nose. Alright, let's just let it brown a little bit. And I've had several people want to know how to make brown gravy. And in this one, if you remember, when I made the chicken gravy, I used some milk. Well, in this, I'm just going to use all water. That's all I'm going to add to my gravy is water. You see it beginning to brown pretty good?
Mm-hmm.
And we're just going to keep it stirred. And don't walk away from it, because if you walk away for any length of time, of course I'm cooking mine on high. I'm always in a hurry anyway, so I just stand here with it, cook it on high, and keep it stirred. See the brown? See how quick?
Yes, it is browning.
But I do have it on high. If you hadn't got time to stand there, cut it down. I'm going to have a good bit of gravy, and that's good. I need a lot. It is certainly a beautiful day here today. We've had a lot of storms. We had a bad storm yesterday morning. But you know, it takes the rain to bring the flowers. And God always knows what we need.
Amen.
And He's always right on time, so. See how dark it's getting?
Mm-hmm. Now, how you want it really thick?
Well, no, I'll show you in a minute. I'm actually going to make this a little thinner because it'll thicken up as it sits there. Because once I get all this together, I'm going to set it over here on my little grill. All right, look at it. See how brown it's getting?
Mm-hmm.
And I want this kind of brown. But you'll think, well, it's time to add the water, but it's not really. But it doesn't like much. And I hope I make these videos. I know sometimes I speed them, but I hope I'm not making them too fast that you can't follow me. All right, see how that looks?
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm fixing to pour my water in. And be ready, because it's going to bubble. I'm going to cut it down. I have my water here. Just going to...
How much water are you thinking?
Well, I just go by the looks of how thick I want my gravy.
Okay. So you really can't add too much or too little.
Well, you can add too much. It's according to the thickness you want it. I like mine. I don't like real thick gravy. See how thick it is?
Mm-hmm.
You just keep adding water till you get to the consistency that you want. Hey, I got a few little lumps and I'm going to change what I'm beating it with now. I'm going to get the lumps out. Add more water.
Okay.
See, and it just, you keep it stirred. And I'm going to slide it off just a minute. I've got to get some more water. I'll be right back. And this gravy is just about good on anything. You're talking about good on cream potatoes.
You're going to have a pot full.
Yeah, I need it a lot. I hope I have enough. I'm going to cut this back up. But you see the color, how pretty it is? What a pretty brown color you have.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you let that flour get too brown, you'll have black. And you don't want that. And you see how I add just a little bit at a time now. I put it back on high because I need it to boil. Because as it boils, it gets thicker. Now, like I told you a while ago, if I was going to eat this on cream potatoes, this would be just about the consistency I'd want. But because I'm going to pour it over a roast, I want it thinner. Because it'll thicken, like I said a while ago, it'll thicken. In fact, I'm going to put all that, and I may need some more. See, I put that full twice.
Mm-hmm.
And I may have to put some more. Ooh, that's looking good, and it's smelling good.
Yes, it is.
I'm going to get it to boil in just a little bit. I'm going to get me a little more water in case I need it. Not stay. I worked on my hummingbird feeders this week. I've got them all out. I'm waiting on my hummingbirds now. They're right outside my kitchen window where I can see them. All right, I need it to boil now. And will not want your gravy this thin if you're going to serve it just as a gravy. But like I told you earlier, I'm going to make mine thinner. I believe that's about it. Let's see. All right, Delane.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to pour it over my potatoes.
Can you pick it up?
Uh-huh. My roast. All right, one last look. Just gonna pour it over. Oh my goodness, that's gonna be
That looks
so good.
No, that looks really
Can't
good.
wait till my cornbread gets done. See, it's still a little thick. I'm gonna rinse my skillet out. Get all that good gravy. That skillet is heavy.
I know.
Kind of mix it up in it. Don't stir it too much. You'll tear your meat up. Your potatoes will hold pretty good. These are the best little potatoes.
That looks really good, Mom.
It is. I'm going to show you. Bring it in a little bit, Delane.
Woo!
See your potatoes.
I
your
might need to
carrots.
taste test that for you.
Well, if you want to, that'd be all right. I always need a tester. My husband is, what does he call himself?
Quality control.
My husband calls himself quality control at the restaurant. He has to taste everything, but I don't think it's really, I think he just wants to eat it. But that's my pork pot roast for tomorrow. Let me check my cornbread. I know it's probably not done. Elaine, you want to look at it for just a minute? See how my grease got on top of it? It's not ready yet, but it's getting there.
Okay.
Alrighty. We'll come back in a few minutes and we'll show you the cornbread. No need of you having to wait. So we'll be back in a little bit. See you then. Thank you. Hey, welcome back. Our cornbread's out of the oven. Let me do something on the recipe for cornbread. I used a cup and a half. I believe I would have used 2.5 cups of meal, to be honest with you. Because now I like thin cornbread, but this is a little thinner than I like. But look around, see how crisp it is? It's real crisp. Now that's what we like. You may not like it that well. If you don't cook it that long, okay?
How long did you cook it?
I think it cooked about 25 minutes.
Okay.
But you might want to add more meal or use a smaller skillet. All right, I've got some cornbread here. I'm going to fix my husband a plate, and he's going to sop this with this cornbread. And quality control says it passes the test. Thank y'all so much for watching. I really enjoy this. Thank y'all for, I say this every time, but people just come up to the restaurant and tell me they made this and they made that and how good it was. And that just thrills me to death. Because I love people and I love food. So to put the two together, you can't hardly go wrong, can you? Mm-hmm. But if I get around to it today, I'm going to come back and make a bread pudding a little later this afternoon. So anyway, y'all have a blessed day. Enjoy your wonderful sunny day outside. And God bless you.